Hi everyone. Today I will talk about images of the children used by marketing and advertising. I will begin with a brief introduction. The image of the children used by marketing and advertising analyzed have different aims in promoting what is relevant for each company. The analysis shown in Figure 1 and Figure 2 describe a positive image of the child who is nurturing and is growing in an environment that fosters their learning and development. On the contrary, the image of the child in Figure 3 and 4 promote charitable work, which protects children of child labor and child abuse. The image of the child experiencing this type of abuse can be a representation of incapable and insecure child who might face difficulties in trusting people. Thus, this study reveals the image of the child held by early childhood pedagogy. So I have chosen 4 images of the child, which draws 2 groups of images throughout of the study. One group, as I mentioned, it is an image of a positive image of the child who is nurturing and who is growing in a safe environment. The other image, it is a negative image which contradicts the image of the child in early childhood education. Now, I would like to talk about the collection of different images of the children used by marketing and print advertising. The first image illustrates 3 children playing, where the parents are also involved in the play. The second image illustrates a child reading a book with his dad and smiling at his dad. The third image, it is about a child labor. And the last image, it shows a child with a bleeding on his mouth, which reflect a form of abuse. Now, I would like to move on to the image number 1. The image is advertising the contrast of what Americans did better back in the 1950s than today. The context refers to parents who carved out time for the family, unity to spend one another. The representation of this image reflects the traditional roles of family members during the time in history in which the advertisement is presented. So the image of the child in Figure 1 is a historical image from the 1950s. It shows 2 children happily playing with the helicopter. The sister is busy drawing, and the parents appreciate the children by being responsive to them while enjoy conversation between themselves. This image of the child enables children to explore the world and welcome unexpected. So this is a type of image that encourages children to explore and to experiment the environment. In this same way, a trusted relationship is promoted in the image of the child, as the child in this picture looks confident and capable to explore the environment. Therefore, it is inferred from the picture the image of the child as a resourceful and capable individual. These skills are important for children to flourish in adulthood as a human being and as a community. So now let's move on to the implication of that image. Based on this context, the image of the child in figure 1, it is recognized the image of a rich child. This image is not a material child, instead rich in potential, powerful, competent, strong, and most relevant, connected to adults and children. So from this perspective, educator may hold the view of this image as a children who are capable and competent in their learning, have higher expectation of them and develop a responsive relationship with them. Now I would like to move to image 2. The image is advertising a father who dedicates himself to read every night to his child and give insight into the different types of books and what his story is about. The target audience of this advertisement is intended for fathers and traditional nuclear family. So this image of the child with his dad reading a book while the child smiles at his dad. The image of the child in figure 2 promotes an image of a happy, confident, competent child who has a strong relationship with his father. Well, the implications are the image of the child portrayed in figure 2 promotes an image where learning is understood as a collaborative and communicative activity between adults and children to construct knowledge and make meaning of the world together with adults and children. So in this context, the image of figure 2 promotes the image of a child who has a secure attachment with his family, specifically with his dad. Those caring and loving and nurturing relationships are crucial for children to benefit from learning opportunity in home environment and early childhood settings. So now I would like to move to the image number 3. So the third image comes from World Vision, an organization that will celebrate out of crisis. This organization supports vulnerable children across the world. It is inferred from the context of this image that children affected by the exploitation of labor and slavery could be those in disadvantaged social situations, such as families experiencing lower social status, poverty, and lack of education in developed countries. Well, it's also considered that children is developed country have reduced drastically compared in the past. However, child labor is outsourced to developing countries. For example, clothing industry. Children make a cheap clothing all day long for lower pay, some less than $1 a day. The image generate a negative perception about ways of seeing children and undermine human dignity. Now, I would like to move to the implication of this image. The image of the child used by World Vision campaign does not promote and value the rights of the child. This image portrays a child without opportunity to be loved or belong to a family and community that values them. In the same way, the image of the child does not encourage the child to try new things and develop a positive identity and self-esteem. So from this perspective, educator might hold the interpretation of children from developed country as a weak, and helpless children who are incapable and incompetent in themselves, thereby having a long expectation for their learning and achievements. So lastly, I will talk about the image number 4. This image comes from Anna Foundation, a non-for-profit organization which created innovative advertisement campaign to communicate directly to children in at-risk situation of abuse. The advertisement comprised of 2 different images printed on the rigid surface. One image showed the face of a typical child with text reading. Sometimes child abuse is only visible to the child suffering. On the other ridge facing downwards, the same image with add injuries was shown alongside alternative text reading. Now let's move to the implication of the last image. The image of the child represented in figure 4 is of a distressed and sad child who might face difficulties in trust people who feels worthless and violated. As regards early childhood pedagogy, this image of the child in figure 4 does not represent image of agentic child, rather it portrays the child as a victim. Now we are going to talk about the contrast of the images to the view of children promoted through current early childhood pedagogy. The image 1 and 2 reflects the interpretation of the child through early childhood pedagogy. This image represents children as a capable and active participant, make decisions and thinking critically in different ways to share knowledge. The image reflects the importance of building and nurturing responsive relationships with children. The other group, the contrasts of the images are the image in figure 3 and 4 contradicts the potential image of the child in the early childhood pedagogy. The concept and emotions are absolutely inappropriate for childhood environment. The images are disrespectful to the child's identity and does not promote the child's sense of belonging and sense of agency. Finally, the images contradict the image of a rich child and agentic child, as a child portrayed in those figures are seen to be powerless, helpless, and passive participants who are incapable and incompetent of associating and interact with others. So in summary, the study above demonstrates the importance of promoting the images of the child who is no longer considered fragile, suffering, powerless, a child who asks us to look at him or her with different eyes in order to give power to the right to learn, to know, and find meaning of life. The strength-based approach supports the practice of early childhood professionals who advocate for children who are capable, competent, and involved learning. The image of the child promoted in every environment should show the reality of these young individuals who need respect to explore the world, building connection, and generate knowledge. This report recommends that when the image of the child is utilized in a positive and authentic way, this image strengthens the power, the curiosity, and the capability. Thank you for listening.